afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this Thursday afternoon. As we all know that the COVID-19 is primarily a respiratory system disease, which affects more the respiratory system more than any other body systems. And, because of that, a lot of your respiratory functions are declined if at all you get infected, and it is very necessary for you to then work on rehabilitating your respiratory system to bring it back as much as possible to the pre-infection levels. And to talk more on this topic today, we have with us Dr. Shekhar Jambure. He is a master's in physiotherapy, so he specializes in cardiovascular and pulmonary physiotherapy. He is India's first FIFA accredited physiotherapist, and he's also a London Shoulder Clinic certified tutor, and he's also certified in dry needling, and he's a dry needling instructor, and also a practitioner. My apologies for that. And he's also the secretary of Navi Mumbai and Raigad district of the IAP. So without further ado, I hand it over to Dr. Jambure. We welcome you, doctor, and please take us through today's presentation. Thank you so much. Just one note, we will take the question and answers in the end. So in the end of the session, you can type in your question answers in the Q&A box. Thank you so much. Over to you, Dr. Shekhar.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for the introduction. And as we all know that we are here assembled over here to learn about, so everybody's talking about how COVID is there and how COVID is affecting us. But then recovery is something, the solutions. We are not seeing a lot of solution focused discussion. Everybody is talking about कि क्या problem है, but क्या solution है उसके ऊपर कोई बात नहीं कर रहा है. So that is where we have assembled over here. I'm going to have my session in this mixed bilingual kind of a thing. बीच में English, बीच में Hindi. If anything, anybody wants to give a feedback about language being not understood or something like that, you can drop it into the chat box and maybe Tanvi or Nisha can let me know about that. So today's topic is post-COVID-19 rehab. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about who should be benefiting from this, why we need to do this, what we need to do, when we need to do, and how we need to do about this. So before we begin, some important disclaimers. This presentation is made up from the point of view that even a non-medico can understand COVID. Okay, so many of the terminologies have been diluted or broken down into very simplified explanations. So kindly don't take the simplification as misrepresentation or inaccuracy. It's not an inaccuracy. It just made it simple to understand. Then the images and videos used in the presentation are not my own creation. The credit goes to the original creators. And in the midst of ongoing pandemic, every day the new data comes out. So we have modeled this presentation based on general principles, not very specific data points, because every day the data keeps on changing. I would be probably sharing exercise related information, which will be definitely beneficial to all of you. But however, it is recommended that you consult your physio, your physician, your surgeon or doctor, whoever is there in your contact sphere, before starting with any of the exercises. And last but not the least, please participate in the session, drop in your questions, queries, and then maybe Tanvi or Nisha can let me know and we can include that part also if it is already not there into the, because I want everybody to derive value out of this session. Okay, let's begin. So COVID-19, I first of all would want everybody to understand how it is affecting you. So why there is a talk of social distancing and mask क्यों पहनना है और ये किस तरह से affect करता है. As Tanvi rightly mentioned before, that the COVID-19 primarily affects your lungs, your respiratory systems. So let's see how it affects us. And first, which body systems are affected? Respiratory system is affected. That means your lungs, your nose, your windpipe or the trachea and the bronchus as they call it. Your cardiovascular system also gets affected because of this. How? I'll explain that in a later part. Your neurological system, that your brain and your nerves also have impact. But the biggest impact is seen on a respiratory system, and the second biggest impact is seen on your muscular system. Muscular system is one of the biggest systems in your body. It comprises of 639 muscles. So we are still understanding how the affections are, but whatever we have known till now, or whatever the research has proven to us till now, I'm going to share that with you in the most simplified manner. So first let's understand how it affects the body. I'm going to share one video. Again, a disclaimer, I'm sharing the source also with you. There is a YouTube channel called Dr. Binox. You can go over there and watch the whole video for yourself if you wish to. I'm just gonna share this video with you. So what you're seeing on a screen right now, this is an animated version of how the coronavirus looks. Okay, so it's like a ball with all the spikes. We call it spikes. जैसे कांटे लगे हो या स्पाइकी बॉल किसी ने देखा होगा जो यूजुअली एक्सरसाइज सेशंस में यूज होता है. So it is something like that. How
Dr.
it
Shekhar,
affects.
sorry,
Yeah.
there have been a couple of comments saying that some people may not understand Hindi. So if you could just continue in English itself.
I'll continue with English, not a problem at
Thank
all.
you, sir.
I'll continue with
Thank
the
you.
English. Yeah. So this is like a ball which has a lot of spikes. I'll just show it to you how it works. So now, inside this ball, there is this genetic material. Can you please let me know if my voice is audible behind the noise, music? Am I audible behind the music? Okay. So what I'll see, this ball contains its genetic material, and this yellow thing which is there is genetic material which is coated by a protein shell. That's how the virus survives inside your body, because this protein is giving its protection. And on top of that, there is another layer of protein, which is the outer layer, and the inner protein is projected out as the spikes. Let's move ahead and see what happens further. So these spikes which are there, they are like a lock and key. So with using these spikes, it gains access inside your body, inside your tissues, inside your cells, and it enters in. And then it starts fiddling with the genetic material which is there inside and starts turning it. Why? What is it trying to do? It is trying to make more copies of itself. Now, if somebody is infected and coughs or sneezes, so this is what you're seeing traveling through the air are the droplets. These droplets may land up on the another person, and then virus may gain entry into your body through your nose. That's where your mask becomes very important. This virus attaches itself to the body cells in your nose, in your throat, and in your airways and your lungs. How it travels and how it gains entry, as I told you, lock and key mechanism. So this way there is a receptor molecule. Your body, only with the receptor can go in. So it's like you can say it's like your security system. It's actual. This virus also is very tricky. What it does is the spike proteins which you saw on top of the surface of that ball, those spike proteins actually get locked into these receptor molecules quite easily, and it is a perfect match. So body does not think it's an invader. Body thinks own your own cells, and the virus gains access inside your body. It gets fits like a lock and key, and then it goes in. So it's gone inside your body cell. Now what will happen? So as soon as it starts, gets inside, it starts searching for the genetic material. आपके हर सेल के अंदर inside every cell of yours there is a nucleus. Now did you note that? Just a moment. So did you notice that after gaining the entry, it went near the nucleus. Near the nucleus, there was this blue color structure where it is heading, that blue structure is a ribosome. Now think of a ribosome as a Xerox machine or a photocopier. Photocopier, what does photocopier do? Whatever you feed into, it makes copies, multiple copies of that. Same way, this virus will head for the ribosome, and then there it will unload its code. So once that code is fed into that ribosome, did you see that how the ribosome immediately produced a spike protein? So it will start populating all the spike proteins inside your body. Attached to these bags which are called vesicles. These are the small new cells coming. And on top of it, it's getting coated with that spike protein. And as it comes out of the cell, there all the spike proteins is there. There is a fluid called cytoplasm inside your tissues. That fluid is into that sac. So it's like a environment where all the structures that are needed for formulating that virus is already being present, and it comes together and to a new virus. And this process keeps on repeating itself millions and millions of times inside your body, and your body is making its own not virus which went inside is replicating, and your body is actually creating virus which is spreading inside it. So that's what is happening. And then it spreads everywhere. Okay. Now, just give me a moment. So it is understood till here. Guys, please give me some feedback. Since I am speaking to the screen, I don't understand whether everybody is understanding or not. Yeah. Okay. So just a moment. I think I stopped the share by mistake. I'm not very well versed with the Cisco. Just give me 2 minutes, guys. So what we have seen is till now it has gained access to your body, and once it gone inside the body, it has started populating itself and spreading everywhere in your body. Right now, what happens next is what we are going to see here.
Dr. Shekhar, we can't see your screen in case if you're sharing anything.
I'm sharing again.
So, okay. Okay. And just a request, you may, if possible, switch off your video because a lot of people are saying that the voice is not getting clear. I think it's because of some network issue, multiple things running. So,
okay.
Just,
thank you. My video is on off because it says that it's off right now. Okay. So once we get inside once the virus starts propagating inside the body, what happens is it will spread out. So it was coming out of your lungs, it will spread everywhere into your lungs, which causes pneumonia. How it causes pneumonia is something which I'll share with you in some time. What is happening is, what is the respiratory system doing? It is bringing air. So your lungs have various lobes, various segments of lobes. The air is coming from the windpipe over here, and then it is spreading into the both bronchi, spreading down into the bronchioles, and the end there are air sacs which are called alveoli, which are continuously expanding and collapsing, and the alveoli has this capillary network, the thin lining of blood vessels. So this is where the oxygen which has come from outside is getting into your blood, and the carbon dioxide from your body is going out. Let's just understand how does that happen. These blue molecules are the air molecules, and you can, if you can see there are red blood cells flowing through those capillaries. So the red blood cells will pick up the oxygen, unload the carbon dioxide which they have brought. So that's how the blood becomes fresh, as they call it in a layman term. The blood gets oxygenated. Okay. Now, when the virus comes and attaches itself inside the windpipe or the bronchi or the bronchioles, what is happening? It starts spreading the infection over there. So mechanism of a mucus is getting disturbed. You are not able to cough well, and it starts causing the inflammation, swelling. That alerts your, what will happen? That will alert your immune system. And as soon as the immune system gets alerted, your immune system starts attacking the virus. Okay. Everybody must be familiar with the term called cytokine storm. That is the overactivity of your immune system, which is trying to fight the virus. And that makes you fall ill. The fever, whatever fever you get, the increase in body temperature is your body's attempt to fight the virus out. When that is happening, if your immune system is weak, it's poor, then it will not be able to fight the virus very efficiently. And this is why we say that the people who have comorbidities, people who have already existing ailments like diabetes, hypertension, any lifestyle ailments which are there, that will weaken your immunity. People who are not very active in their lifestyle, people who are continuously doing sedentary profiles, like somebody who's used to work earlier 8-9 hours. Now in today's work from home scenario, people are sitting in front of the laptop or a computer for 10 hours, 12 hours, 14 hours at a stretch, and then there is no mobility. And as your mobility goes down, your immunity also goes down. So when the immunity is very weak, what's happening is your body is not able to fight that virus. So infection is spreading inside. The result of infection, there is a pus formation inside these air sacs. So the sacs which are meant for the air will not be able to fill with the air. There is no transfer of oxygen and carbon dioxide, because of which the oxygen content of the body drops. There you fall very severely ill. And what are symptoms you may get? You may get a lobar pneumonia. What do I mean by lobar pneumonia? So in your lungs, there are various areas, so which are called lobes. So if there is one lobe affected because of pneumonia, that would be called a lobar pneumonia. Whereas if the extent is more, then you will land up with a bronchopneumonia. What do I mean by bronchopneumonia? If you can see my cursor over here, this is one bronchus. See, all the areas supplied by this one bronchus get solidified or get filled with pus and not contributing to the oxygen supply or the exchange of oxygen and a carbon dioxide. This would be called a bronchopneumonia. So in this scenario, the whole lung, multiple patches can be seen. And this is bronchopneumonia is more severe version. It can cause headache, it can cause body ache and fatigue. Along with this, what it will cause chest pain, because your respiratory system is overtly taxed. It needs to work overtime to bring in more oxygen. So you're getting breathless. Plus, you're getting chest pain. Why? Because see, the oxygen content, how is the oxygen traveling from your lungs to your body? It via blood, red blood cells. Now, earlier, let's see, everybody has 5.5 liters of blood in their body. Nobody has extra blood, nobody has less blood. In that scenario, what will happen? If the earlier the 5 liters blood was carrying 10 liters of oxygen, now it is able to fill up only 5 liters of oxygen, then the heart will have to pump twice the amount of blood it was producing, it was propagating earlier, to match up the body's needs, and that puts excess load on your heart. So that is the connection between, like, many of the victims of COVID-19 are dying because of the heart attack. So this is the reason that the heart is going pushed to the extent where it will go into a cardiac arrest. So that is where the chest pain, coughing, breathing difficulty, and even fever comes into picture. If this state persists further, you will start suffering with a neurological symptoms also. And what are those neurological symptoms? That you may land up with a diminished memory, behavioral changes, your confusion, because your brain is not receiving enough amount of oxygen. So what is the solution? We need to find solution to all these problems, right? So what is the solution? Solution is pulmonary rehab. Now, again, one more very important disclaimer. I am not saying that a pulmonary rehab is the whole and sole treatment for it. So pulmonary rehab is something which is used to bring you back to normalcy quicker after you have recovered from your hospitalization or a home isolation or a quarantine. This cannot be pulmonary rehab. Again, I reiterate, pulmonary rehab cannot be a substitute to hospitalization. Whenever your condition is severe, you may require oxygen support, you may require a ventilatory support. Over there, you may need a hospitalization, and after you come back from the hospital, the important point to understand over here is discharge from the hospital is not the end of recovery. It is actually the start of your recovery. So what do I mean by start of recovery? That when do you get discharged from the hospital? Once you are safe, once there is a no threat to your life, you are able to recuperate at home, then they will give you discharge. But that does not mean that you are back to fighting fit status. So bring you there without rehab, it may take you 6 to 8 months in severe cases. In mild to moderate cases, it may take you 2 months to 4 months also to get back to your original fitness level where you were before falling ill from COVID. Okay. And in some cases, even after 6 to 8 months, the recovery may not be complete. So how pulmonary rehab helps is, pulmonary rehab is a structured exercise protocol which will bring normalcy faster. You don't have to wait for 6 months, 8 months, 1 year to recover completely. How does a pulmonary rehab will make you better? It's a two-pronged approach. It will make your lungs stronger by improving your lungs capacities. And see, if your lung capacity improves, automatically you are able to supply more oxygen to your body. So you are increasing your oxygen supply, and by making the muscles more efficient. What do I mean by this? So see, whatever oxygen your lungs are pulling out of air, where is it going? It is going to your muscles, right? That is where the oxygen is being burned as a fuel. So if your muscles become more efficient, so the same amount of work, they will require lesser amount of oxygen, they will consume less oxygen. So if muscles are consuming less oxygen, ultimately, see, whether muscle is consuming more oxygen or less oxygen, ultimately demand is going to be from the lungs. The lungs have to supply whatever amount of oxygen is needed for that particular work. So that consumption becomes less, the demand will be less, so your respiratory system will be less taxed. So one way you are increasing the supply, the other way you are decreasing the demand. That automatically helps you with the business, and you bring back the balance which is lost. So what you may expect in a pulmonary rehab is that pulmonary rehab consists of many things. One is a breathing exercise. You are working with your respiratory system. So you are learning breath control. How you learn a breath control is that there are certain exercises like deep breathing, diaphragmatic breathing, sleep breathing. Then there are techniques in which the combination of exercises are used, which are called active cycle breathing technique. Now, there is also postural drainage. What is postural drainage? So earlier I mentioned that because of the infection, the air sacs are being filled with the pus. Now that needs to come out. That comes out in a form of phlegm. Everybody may not be strong enough, or everybody may not be capable enough to be able to cough out all the phlegm. So for that, postural drainage is a treatment in which we make the patients lie down in a positions where the gravity will assist. Gravity will assist you to drain that phlegm and open those airways so that they can participate in the oxygen exchange. And the spirometer exercises. Now, see, all of you, whenever I say in this whole course of presentation, wherever I use the word exercise, most of the related to exercise. If you say exercise, you'll probably think about cardio. You will probably think about weights. So weight training is one of the very important thing. So for the external muscles, like muscles, your arm muscles, your leg muscles, you can use weight of resistance to make them stronger. How do you give resistance to your lungs? How do you give resistance to your respiratory muscles? That's where your spirometer comes into the picture. Now, another part, that was one prong, that you are improving your lung capacity. The another part is there are some exercise bands or therabands which can be used to improve your musculature, your peripheral musculature, the muscles of your arms, muscles of your legs. Then we can do weights training in a slow, graduated manner. This would not be a generalized protocol. This would be a highly specific protocol depending upon everybody's capacity, where we are starting and what we are intending to achieve. But weights is important even in the most severe cases, wherein the weight may be as low as 250 grams, but we have to train these muscles to make them more efficient. Beyond this, there is a very active role of nutrition also. So as I said, because of the oxygen, there is oxygen being less, the muscles are not getting enough to burn. The fuel is not there. So that is causing breakdown of your muscles. And because of the breakdown of the muscles, the efficiency of your whole body system is going down. That is why you're getting more tired. That is where you're getting your weakness. So you need to build your muscles back. For building the muscles back, you have already started the exercises. But just putting the exercise load is not going to make your muscles stronger. You have to also feed the derailed metabolism which is there in the muscles. There is a lot of muscle breakdown because when the body is not able to metabolize the oxygen properly and find out the energy, it breaks down its own muscles to create that energy. And that is where a lot of muscle loss happens. That's why you see that many people lose a lot of weight also in the prolonged illness. So to improve that, you have to supplement that with a protein supplementation, because proteins are something which is the building block of your bodies. But protein is also difficult to digest. It's not very easily digested thing, and many people land up with a constipation or difficulty in digesting the protein supplements which are given to them. So that is why protein is supplemented with fibers. Now fibers can be supplemented in a way like additional supplement of a fiber you can take, or you can eat more green leafy vegetables. So like fenugreek is there, then dill is there, then palak is there. So you can use those kind of vegetables to cleanse your gut so that your constipation gets cleared. Another important aspect, we are talking like all this while since this presentation started, we kept talking about how the oxygen is flowing from your lungs to your body. What is the most important element in the this oxygen transport? As we saw earlier, few slides earlier, that there was a alveoli which is round with the capillary network, and there are RBCs, red blood cells, flowing through that capillary, which is picking up the oxygen from the lungs and taking it to the body. So that binding happens from where? That binding is caused by hemoglobin, and hemoglobin is a, what we say, iron rich content. It needs to have a lot of iron to act like a catalyst so that the hemoglobin will pick up the oxygen and attach itself to the red blood cell. So you need to improve the food intake of iron also. Your bones also become quite weak in this disease, so calcium supplementation. But all these are like putting bandages on the injuries. You need to boost your immunity, and your immunity boosting components are actually coming from your micronutrients like your vitamins and vitamin C. So you need to increase your citrus fruits, but you need to take supplemental vitamins is very essential, because no matter how much amount of kada you drink, or how much amount of citrus fruits you take, or lemon juice or musambi juice or orange juice, that's not gonna be sufficiently absorbed into your system, and that is where you need to give supplemental vitamin C. Another important factor, which is that iron rich foods also have an absorption rate of, let's say, around 50%. So whatever you are eating, only 50% is getting absorbed. So that is not enough to suffice the requirement which your body has. And that is where your iron supplements additionally are given by your physicians. Another important aspect is you're taking calcium, you're taking fiber, you're taking iron, but all these absorption is there is a catalyst which will make these transitions happen, and that is where your zinc comes into picture. That is why whenever you, even if you are just a corona suspect, you are not even diagnosed positive yet, your physician immediately starts you with a dosage of, first he will start you with a paracetamol to keep your fever in check. If you are not getting any fever, if you are not getting any symptoms, still he will insist on having the iron supplements, zinc supplements, vitamin C, and multivitamin supplements. That is for this reason. Now, as I had said earlier, that we need to look at the complications also. So before we move ahead, I would request Tanvi or Nisha to let me know if there are any questions till now, if everybody's understood till here, and then we can move on from further from there. Are there any questions over here till now?
Hi, Dr. Shekhar. There are a few questions,
Mm.
but I think we can take them in the end. A few
Okay.
people have said that they cannot hear, but it was clear, and we have been checking internally. For us, the voice is clear, so I'm not sure if it's a problem
So
that's happening.
I can go on further, right?
Yes, please continue.
Okay, okay. So now coming to the complications which can happen because of the COVID-19. The first thing which we can see is a respiratory distress. I have already explained the mechanism how the respiratory distress is happening. There is a certain amount of oxygen required in your body. Since your lungs get affected because of the infection and the pneumonia, they are not able to deliver that much amount of oxygen, and because of this, body thinks that it needs to draw more oxygen from outside environment, and that is where it keeps on trying gasping for breath, and that is where your respiratory distress is. And many a times what happens is these respiratory muscles also go in failure, that continuously they are making that effort to draw the oxygen in, but as you saw, the air sacs were filled with the pus, and there was no amount of air that could be transferred to the blood, no amount of oxygen that could be transferred to the blood because of that. So when you have an extensive corona infection inside your lungs, most part of the lungs are not doing that oxygen transfer, and what happens is this keeps on building like a chain, and then one point the respiratory muscles, or the muscles of your inspiration, the muscles which are trying to draw the air in, they also go into failure. They are not able to work anymore, because those muscles will also need oxygen for their own metabolism, for their own energy. Only then they'll be able to move further, and that is where your ventilators and the additional oxygen supply comes into the picture, because the body is incapable of drawing it on their own. Now, next complication which is written over here is cytokine storm. So I would like to speak a little about cytokine storm. This corona infection is causing a lot of inflammation. So inflammation is what? Swelling. So that triggers your body's immune response. It identifies that wherever there is a corona infection, or wherever there is a corona, what we say, genetic material is found, your immune system cells, T4 cells and T3 cells, they will start attacking those areas to kill that virus. Now, unfortunately, what happens is these immunity boosting mechanism of our body, they identify the virus from its spike protein. And as you saw, that when the ribosome was making the copies of that virus, just recall the example of the photocopying machine which I had shared earlier. So that first thing that makes is it makes a spike protein. That is not a virus itself. Though a lot of spike proteins get made up, and then the conducive environment, they come together and the virus is formed. But these these spike proteins, which are like a just spike proteins and not formulated into the virus, they are also identified by the immune system, and those areas are also get attacked because of this thing. These cytokines are the components in your body which are breaking down the foreign bodies. But what happens is when this kind of miscommunication happens amongst the cytokines, that will start destroying your good lung tissue also, or good tissues in your body also. That will create, like that is creating a picture wherein your own immune system is actually becoming kind of your own adversary. Your own immune system is attacking your own body. And that is where the use of steroids is also seen. That when the steroid is given, it causes immunosuppression. Immunosuppression means what? Whatever there are guards, the guards of your body are put to sleep by giving the medication. So most of the deaths earlier which were happening because of the cytokine storm. And that is why we were seeing that a lot of young people, most of you must have experienced this. I have seen many known people succumbing to COVID from my networks who are really in what do we say, young age group, mid 30s, mid 40s. What happens in their case is that sometimes, again, I am not saying that this is the case always and each and every case, but sometimes having a stronger immune system can also lead into your disadvantage. So that is where your cytokine storms need to be suppressed, and that's where the immunocompressing diseases like immunocompressant medications like your steroids come into picture. Now, because of the steroids, there is another flip side to it, another complication which happens. I'll come back to that later. Now, septic shock. So when this happens, the cytokine storm starts attacking its own body tissues. Then what happens? Our body has a lot of other microbes, which are like there are in your gut there are bacteria. In your lungs there is a TB virus which is already present. In 98% of the Indians, the TB virus is there, which is dormant, lying dormant, but which may get activated if there is a immunosuppression. And because of this, there could be a lot of pus formation everywhere, and that may lead into a septic shock that may cause your circulatory system to freeze, or the volumes of the blood being pumped may go down, and that is where the septic shock comes into picture. Cardiovascular complications which are there, I have already explained that how it puts load onto your heart and everything. Now, acute kidney injury and acute liver injury. This is partly because of COVID and partly because of the way we are trying to manage COVID. Because many a times the medical professionals are faced with the difficult choice, difficult pros and cons. So many a times they have to use the medication which is known to cause some side effects, but at the same time, at that time, it is important to save that patient's life. Like I told you, immunosuppression by the steroids can lead to other complication. But at that very point of time, saving the life of the patient is more important. So that is where the use of steroids come into picture. But then all these, like we can see that there is there's a lot of black marketing of remdesivir is also happening. Why is that happening? Because that is the drug which is being given quite extensively. Now, remdesivir, I gave one example. There are many other medications which are being quite frequently used. And your liver and your kidney are two chemical factories of your body. Whatever chemical goes inside your body will be broken down either in liver or in kidney. Or the liver will break it down and kidney will filter it out into the urine so that it can go out after its work is done. But this puts, so when there are medications which has added impacts that will have uh, a stress, quite a strain onto the liver and kidney, which may cause a acute liver injury or a kidney injury. Now, coming to the last complication, which I kept referring to, all of you must have heard the names of mucormycosis. Now, mucormycosis is a clinical name which is now being very prevalently used as black fungus. Black fungus, white fungus. Now, recently, somebody has encountered yellow fungus. What are these? All these fungal infections are coming from where? Coming from immunocompromised state, immunosuppressed state. That these fungal infections were there, but your immunity was so strong that it was not affecting you. The moment you dial down your immunity, these other opportunistic infections start cropping up. And the mucormycosis or the black fungus is very rampant one and has 90% mortality rate. So that is where we have to be extra cautious. Where I have seen many people getting worried about the blood clotting and vaccine will cause blood clot or vaccine will cause this or vaccine will cause that. But looking at these complications, that blood clotting seems so trivial because it could be there is a known course of treatment available to manage that blood clotting. Whereas most of these injuries which I mentioned just now, there is no known course. The mucormycosis has 90% mortality rate. Why? Because it does not have the specific treatment course available, except for cutting cutting that fungus out of your body. And it's extensively affecting your nose, palate, brain. How can you cut out a brain? And that's where the most of the times the mucormycosis, the deaths are because of brain getting infected or affected. Okay, so I'll move on to the complications from complications. So who can benefit from pulmonary rehab? Now, my last slide may have sounded little grim or sounded a little very serious or severe. I would say that let's not trivialize it, but at the same time, we have to uh, take solace into the point that COVID has more than 90% recovery rate. More than 90% recovery rate. Now, see again, I do understand that many people would not agree to the statistics which are being presented, or me saying that it's okay. Because what happens is that when you see lakhs and lakhs of deaths happening in the news, but then we cannot compare our situation to USA or other countries wherein the population is few millions, whereas we are a country of 136 crore people. If we have 1 lakh death, calculate the percentage of the population of the death. So mortality rate is calculated based on that. So again, coming back to the point, so there are solutions available for pulmonary rehab for corona, and then there are recovery patterns like pulmonary rehab which are available. Who can benefit from pulmonary rehab? Anyone who has been affected by COVID-19 in past 6 months and was hospitalized due to it, was institutionally quarantined for the same, or was in a home isolation. So these three I have mentioned in the order of need based on their severity. So the person who was hospitalized because of COVID, they should definitely get in touch with the nearby pulmonary physiotherapist and get themselves a pulmonary rehab program chart out. Nowadays, there are pulmonary rehab programs which can be delivered online also, so you can explore those options also. Then people who are not that severely affected, but had a few symptoms and were into the institutional quarantines, like there are jumbo COVID centers being built by multiple municipal corporations or the state governments, and you were over there. You were not needing oxygen, or you were not needing any ventilator, but still that you were there in a quarantine. In that scenario, you may still need 2 or 3 months to recover from COVID. In that scenario, pulmonary rehab can make you recover faster. And a person who was in a home isolation may require it at a lesser, uh, so severity was less. That's why that person was allowed to be in a home isolation. But definitely a pulmonary rehab program will benefit, not harm at all. Okay. So I think we can move on to the question answers sessions. And if any questions are there, we can take it. If Tanvi or Nisha, if you can just share what all questions are there, I can start answering them one by one. Or any feedback, any feed forward, most welcome from all the participants.
Abhisheka, can you access the chat and the Q&A section?
I am not able to, since I'm sharing the screen, I can't see the chat section. That's the challenge.
Can you stop sharing the screen? Now can you check?
Yeah, so I can see only 5 comments over here, and there's only one question.
Oh, there's a chat box also. Can you take that one question? We'll try to give you the
I'll take that. I'll take that one question, and then we can take it further. So the question is, Doctor, post-COVID, how long should we continue vitamin C tab and zinc tabs? The honest answer to this is you can continue taking the vitamin C and zinc tabs because that will keep on boosting immunity. So if you make it a lifelong habit, that is also fine, because vitamin C is something which is water soluble. So you can, even if you take it little higher on a higher side, it will go out from your urine. So don't worry about that, and you can continue taking zinc tabs. There's no problem. If you're asking what is the minimum amount of time which we need to take it, then I would rather say that you need to continue it for minimum of 2 to 3 months, because there is a deficit created which is not going to improve immediately. So it will take some 2 to 3 months time to settle. So you can continue doing that. Okay. Okay. Next question comes from Mr. Nagaraj Shenoy. He is saying that just a moment, I lost the question. Queries related to cough and itchy throat, especially when trying to sleep. I have been doing some steam inhalation and betadine gargling before sleep, which helps, but I still get cough. Looking for suggestions to improve. My oxygen saturation is pretty good. So, sir, the coughing is not happening because of your oxygen saturation being low. Why the coughing is happening is what happens is the inner lining of your throat and the inner lining of your windpipe is coated by something called cilia. Okay, and your lungs, to keep the air warm and to keep the air moist, your lungs keep on secreting something called mucus, which is lining the inner airways. Now what happens is, because of the COVID infection and the swelling which is there on the windpipe, what happens is that your cilia stop beating and there is no enough mucus to warm the air and to moisten the air, and that is where your what we say, that is where your throat becomes very dry, and because of that dryness you keep getting that itchy sensation, and when you get that itchy sensation you try to cough out so that the mucus will move a little. So the only solution to this is that if your oxygen saturation is good, then you need to look at your hydration, as in, are you drinking enough water? You need to drink, post COVID you should be drinking at least 2.5 to 3 liters of water every day. On the hot and humid days like nowadays which is happening, like if the temperatures are very high outside, you should be aiming to 3.5 to 4 liters of water. But again, This is a generalized comment. If you are a person with a heart disease, then you should check with your cardiologist before improving your hydration levels. Will PR have no use at all for non-COVID people? No, it's not at all that way. PR can have a use for a non-COVID people as well in improving their lung capacities. But again, in COVID, we work towards improving the lung capacities. The PR, the objective will be different. So PR is like a vehicle. You have to first decide the destination, what you want to achieve, where you want to reach, and the PR will be a vehicle to take you there. So if your objective is different, you can remodel the pulmonary rehab principles to different kind of a thing, wherein you can improve the lung capacities and your muscle efficiency. People recovered from COVID, when can we take the vaccine? Yeah, then go ahead.
Yeah, no. Please read out. Actually, I'm not being able to read chats. There's some scrolling issue.
No problem. So for the people recovered from COVID, when can we take the vaccine? So, sir, I would recommend you to check with the state guidelines which are being given time to time from your state government, because for every state it is little different. Ideal time which is said is that you should wait 3 months. That is I am located in Mumbai, and the guidelines given over here are that you have to wait at least 8 to 12 weeks post COVID. So post COVID, as in from your report being COVID negative to from there 8 to 12 weeks is what is being recommended over here. In at your location, if it is different, you need to check with that. Post COVID, the pulse is around 120. What take is on this? So, sir, again, we need to check your other health status as well, because the scenario is that definitely if the resting pulse is so high, there is some kind of added load on your heart. But we need to understand whether it's only because of COVID or it is because of some pre-existing conditions. Okay, what are the breathing exercises that we should follow for a healthy lung? So the breathing exercises that can be followed. I'll come back to this question. Sir, post-COVID, to avoid COVID, which pranayama are most useful? So, sir, my answer to your question would be that pranayama will be helpful in recovering from COVID. It will be helpful to keep your lungs healthy, but pranayama cannot ensure that you can avoid COVID, because COVID is happening because of the virus. And if you come in a contact with the virus, there is a high chance that you may develop COVID, because we don't have a inherent immunity towards that. So pranayama will not save you from that, but pranayama, if you're doing pranayama and you're keeping your lungs strong in that scenario, you will probably be affected in a less severe manner or the asymptomatic manner. Okay. Any specific tips for kids? So my specific tips for kids would be that you have to allow them to do a lot of physical activity. The dosage of physical activity for an adult is 150 to 200 minutes of mild to moderate activity for a week. So when I say 150 minutes a week, if you are a person who wants to take 2 chuttis in your exercise also, if you're doing a 5-day week kind of a exercise routine also, that amounts to only half an hour. So all of you should be indulging into the physical activity. Mobility is the key. The more mobile you are, more is your immunity. Now, any specific tips towards the kids? For the kids, you have to take extra precaution about their isolation, because kids have a habit of touching here and there. So you have to train your kids, and their mobility dosage is higher than us. For them, they need 200 to 250 minutes of moderate to severely exerting activities. So I do understand that the kids are not allowed to go out and play with their friends or go to the garden or go to the playground, but then at least make them run around the house. So again, running around the house may not be good for your discipline in the house, but it is definitely good for their health. So make them do that. Is this pulmonary rehabilitation can be treated children under 12 years who are affected So if they have come out of the hospitalization or isolation period is over, this can be used for children as well. Pulmonary rehab program can be used for children as well. But the principles will be little different. We have to tackle it a little differently. So we have to evaluate that case, and based on that, we can do that. For the people recovered from COVID, when can we take the medicine? Okay, I have already answered this. I am using medicine, but still not controlling. I did not get your question. If you can elaborate, we can do that. Okay. I had COVID before 30 days back, and now I am having continuous chest pain in the left side and fatigue. Chest pain is like a muscle pain, kind of a pain on the ribs or muscles. It is worrying me like a cardio pain. So very simple solution to this is get your 2D echo done. It will tell you whether your heart is affected or not. If your 2D echo comes clear, then you just need to focus on building up your exercise, your activity tolerance. Right now, you're getting chest pain because your endurance or your stamina is less. Is PR advised for active COVID patients? Yes, there is a segment of PR, so which was not included here, but then the spirometry exercises and the pulmonary drainage, and there are certain techniques which can be used for active COVID patients also, but that has to be delivered by a trained pulmonary physiotherapist. It should not be delivered by a physician. It should not be delivered by a surgeon. Should not be delivered by a MBBS doctors also, because this is a highly specialized skill set which only a pulmonary physiotherapist is capable of delivering. So kindly get in touch with a pulmonary physiotherapist if you know any active COVID patient who requires this. How are blood thinners helpful? What is the thickness of the blood? How much would it reduce after blood thinner uses? So there is no specific reading for how much the blood thickness is there. How are blood thinners helpful is that because in many of the medications, or in some cases in some vaccines also, the tendency of blood clotting is increasing. Now, if there is a blood clot which is roaming freely in your blood, it may go and get stuck anywhere. It may go and get stuck in your heart, may cause a heart attack. It may go and get stuck in your brain, may cause a stroke. So that is where your blood thinners are helpful, that it will stop the blood clots being formed inside your blood. And if there is anybody who has been advised to take blood thinners, you have to make sure that you are taking those blood thinners as per the dosage and as per the given time. No tinkering with the dosage on your own. Or there are few people who are like, hey, I forgot to take my blood thinner in the morning. Oh, I'll take 2 in the night. Don't do that. Don't modify your dosage. Just follow the schedule as it is, as given by your physician. And if you don't have a clear-cut idea, then get in touch with your physician that what I should be doing and what should be the schedule. Okay. Post-COVID, when do a person should plan to take vaccine? So I have already answered that question. So there is a very interesting question over here, that people who have multiple sclerosis and taking the immunosuppressant medications are vulnerable to COVID. Yes, they are very vulnerable to COVID. What prevention to be taken for them? The prevention to be taken for them is that extra being paranoid is the best line of defense. Avoid contact with the crowded places. Avoid touching avoid touching any surfaces. Then you should be extra cautious with your hygiene, washing your hands multiple times, doing the sanitation. Then again, what we do is we tend to focus a lot on our hands, on our body, but then we tend to forget that. So again, I wear specs. I wear specs. I had to actively develop a habit that I need to sanitize my specs also, because that is one thing which can carry the virus inside your house. You have to sanitize your mobile. You have to sanitize your wallet. So you have to be extra cautious about that. Whether they can take the vaccination, I'm sorry, sir, I'm not the expert authority on that. You may have to search the. So again, There may be some vaccinations which are safe for them. There may be some vaccinations which may not be safe for them. So you need to speak to the immunization experts, or you need to find out data from the immunization schedules of Government of India, whether those vaccines are safe in cases of multiple sclerosis. I am not the authority, or I'm not the right guy to speak about that. Do we have to go for any test after we have recovered from COVID? So ideally, they said that you do not need any tests because the COVID-19 life cycle has been discovered that it is after 21 days that the virus dies, and that is why we have seen that they do not even test you even after once they leave you from the home isolation or from the hospitalization. From the hospitalization, when they leave you after you get a COVID negative report only. So the RT-PCR test is something that is the best thing we have right now. So you don't have to go specifically for the test. You need to, if you are talking about any other testing, whether the other systems are affected, that will depend upon what are the residual symptoms which you have. Vitamin D3, so there is a question, is vitamin D3 effective in a treatment of COVID-19? And if so, then what is the dosage? So there is vitamin D3 cannot be effective in the treatment of COVID-19. So there has to be other areas which I mentioned. So you have to speak to your physician for that. So there is a question how vaccination helps to fight the disease. As I told you, it's a matter of how quickly your immune system can identify the virus and take care of it. So vaccination is like we are teaching your immune system how to identify that virus. So some vaccines work on the mRNA basis, wherein the spike proteins, so immunity learns to detect the spike proteins. There are some questions in which there are some there are some vaccines in which the dead virus, or the what we say incapable virus is given inside your body, so that the immunity learns to identify the virus and can fight it quickly. So that's how vaccination helps you during COVID. So as I mentioned that during COVID, there are pulmonary rehab exercises. Okay, there is a question, people having COVID-like symptoms. Sir, this is a specific question. You'll have to speak to your physician for that. What are the tests to be done after recovering from COVID? Okay, is it advisable for pregnant ladies or ladies expecting pregnancy to take vaccines available in India? Right now, there are no pregnancy safe vaccines. So we need to wait a little bit more to have a data. The studies are going on about that. Okay. Is frequent mucus of phlegm production and coughing out a symptom of COVID? No. COVID-19 symptom is a dry cough. Frequent mucus, if you are getting frequent mucus or you are coughing out of phlegm, you probably have some other bacterial infection. That's not a symptom of COVID-19. Someone who is already on steroids for last 10 years can take the vaccine without any doubts or any precautions to be taken. Again, as I mentioned, you will have to check the guidelines, because the vaccines which are available. So we have 4 or 5 vaccines available. Covishield is there, Covaxin is there. We have AstraZeneca and Moderna available in some cases. Some municipal corporations have managed to do a tie-up with Russian agencies and bring the Sputnik V. So all these vaccines have different modes of how they provide immunity. So which vaccine you want to take, based on that you will have to take precautions. Since the next question is, since no follow-up report is done, how do we evaluate the duration for the second dose post-COVID? So there is no need to calculate the second dose. Second dose, what they are doing is, that's a standard protocol. The first dose gives you immunity, gets you immunity started, and then they give you the second dose as a booster dose. So what you need to know is when you can take the first dose after you've been tested COVID. So if you're tested positive for COVID, once you tested negative, you have to, after 3 months, you can take the first dose. And then as per the standard pattern, like for Covishield, the pattern duration is different. Covaxin, the duration is different. So accordingly, you can take that. post-COVID body pain like back pain, leg pain are observed. And so as I told you, we need to work with your muscles. Okay. Next question is, I tested positive, was in home isolation. It has been 10 days. Now I'm feeling better, no symptoms. Am I need to go for testing or CT scan now? If you're not feeling any symptoms, I would not recommend going for a CT scan. So people, what I would recommend is that, see, there are a lot of questions which are sharing the personal details. What I would recommend is, I will share my contact details with you guys. I will answer everybody's question because I don't want anybody to go out without getting the answers to their questions. But answering the specific questions on a public forum will be little difficult. So please, if you have any generalized questions, we can take those, and specific questions, I will share my contact details and you can get in touch with me, because for the specific questions, I will need a little bit more personal data as well to give you the right answer for that. Okay. Anyone with a DVT currently on blood thinners can take vaccine. Again, you have to check the vaccine guidelines and which vaccine. How good is this pulmonary rehab for a pregnant woman who have affected COVID? This will definitely be beneficial to you during pregnancy as well. Breastfeeding mothers can take vaccines. Yes, they can take vaccines. How many days do I need to wait for retest after COVID? Ideally, you should be taking your retest after 2 months from testing positive. Since no follow-up report is done now, how do we calculate the reports? Okay, I have already answered that. Tanvi, are there any questions which you want to specifically take?
No, Dr. Shekhar, I think there are most questions which are either of a repetitive nature or a little specific from case to case, as you mentioned. So I would recommend if you could just share your number or your digital card on the chat box.
And there is one question I would like to take. So can you slightly simplify the difference between all the vaccines available right now in India? Based on the studies so far, which one is the best for whom? So my recommendation to all my fellow Indians, guys, whichever vaccine is being available to you right now, take that. Don't fall prey to this media propaganda that Covaxin is better or Covishield is better or some other AstraZeneca is better or something else is better. We do not have a substantiated data to compare these vaccines and tell which is better and which one is not. That's one thing. Second thing, as I told you, one vaccine is working on a mRNA method. The other vaccine is working on an inactivated virus or a dead virus. The third one is working on something else itself. And the fourth one is based on triggering your immune response based on your immunoglobulins. Then in that scenario, it is like comparing apples to oranges. All the four have different methods of working on your body. Then how can we compare them to each other and say this one is better or that one is better? And right now, we are a country of 1.3 billion. Our government has taken up an enormous task of vaccinating everybody. I do understand there will be grievances, there will be challenges when we are dealing at such a massive exercise. I would recommend whichever is being available to you, take that. Something is always better than nothing. It's like I have seen people there doing comparisons like Covishield has 94% effectivity and Covaxin is 96% effectivity. Then I want Covaxin. Covishield is available in stock. They are refusing and they are saying हमको Covaxin चाहिए. In that scenario, for that 2%, you are giving up on 94% chance. And then again, these media outlets straightforward brand it as effectivity. It's not effectivity. The word which is being used is efficacy. Efficacy means what? When they say 94% efficacy, it does not mean that 94% people are secured and 6% will get COVID. They are saying that everybody is equally protected, but 94% will never get a severe COVID. There is only 6% chance that somebody will get a severe COVID. There is no vaccine which says that once this vaccine is given, there is no chance of COVID. What they are saying is if the vaccine is given, even if you get landed up with COVID, it will not be severe. It will be probably asymptomatic, or it will be like a mild cough and cold. So don't compare the vaccines. Whichever is available, please take that. Tanvi, I'll just share my details. Yeah?
Please do.
Yeah.
Guys, in the interest of time, is sharing the contact details of Dr. Shekhar. In case you have any personal queries or case related questions, you will please contact him. He's available on the numbers. The numbers are being displayed on your screen.
So I would just like to end on that note. I'm Dr. Shekhar Jambure, India's first FIFA certified physio. And I would like to leave you with this positive quote. Sometimes it's okay if the only thing you did today was breathe. So keep breathing and keep fighting. My contact number is 9930-899-133. And my Instagram handle is Pulse Physios, Pulse_Physios. So you can reach out to me, or you can WhatsApp me on this number, and I will definitely try and solve your queries.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shekhar. On that note, we would like to take your leave and wrap it up for today. Thank you so much, audience, for being so patient and kind. You've been a lovely audience. Please take care and stay safe. Thank you so much.